Hey everybody, I'm Curtis.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is Love at First Fright. If you were in a movie and the one of the central plots here, and this is a romance movie.
Okay.
So we can,
thank you.
So we have the tone.
Specifying.
Yeah. And one of the plots, central plots here, you had to make a big decision.
Mm-hmm. And
it was based around distance.
Uh-huh.
What is the, minimum, I can't do this. It's too long.
That was a lot of words.
Yeah.
To reference a highly specific Christmas holiday romance movie we watched.
No, it's a trope though. Like in the one I'm talking about, the one we both know the answer in that movie is wrong.
Correct. Because they were make or break in this relationship over a 30-minute commute.
Yeah.
From Metro Atlanta to downtown Atlanta.
Yeah. But it is a trope of the holiday Christmas movies, usually. I think
I don't think you're long distance unless it's, I think, 2-hour minimum drive. And even that feels like, are you really long distance or are you just inconvenient distance?
No, I think 2 hours is good because the way I like to think about it is if you have both of you are, let's pick a point that's equidistant to meet at for dinner or something like that, or end result here, we're gonna get a house right in the middle point of where we both need to work. Right. Then that's each of you would have to commute an hour to either meet for dinner or an hour, to work. And that feels like a lot, you know? Yeah. Because I don't know that you can say if you're one state over, because there's really small states.
True. You could also live on the border.
Yeah.
Minimum 2 hours for it to actually be a huge barrier.
Yeah.
I think anything less than that is workable. And also, even though it may be inconvenient, you would still be able to see each other on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah.
But, because you can't be let's just pop over and meet for lunch if you live 3 hours apart. Mm-hmm. Right. That's not going to work.
We've been watching a lot of these Hallmark kind of movies. They're from Food Network and HGTV specifically,
which is insane.
Yeah. And in these ones they have people from an HGTV show or a Food Network show, the host of whatever that is, playing a character in these movies, but they're not themselves. They are playing just a character in it, and it's usually a very minor character. Right. Varying amounts of screen time and importance within the grand plot of it. But in one of them, you mentioned it, that it's from Rutland, Georgia to Atlanta, where her big city office job is, and then the small town, and you looked it up and it's 45 minutes. Yeah. And there was another one,
and I'm sure with traffic into Atlanta that gets longer.
Sure.
But again, it's not an insurmountable we're never gonna see each other again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, and the for that one she was an interior designer and he was a real estate
agent.
And she was but he won't be able to continue to practice real estate. And I'm yes, he could. Yeah. He would just have his office there.
Atlanta also has houses for sale. Or condominiums.
But I guess his dream was to just practice it in Rutland, Georgia, which feels like an exceedingly small market.
I don't even understand how our man was making enough money, because I can't imagine that exclusively selling houses in a small town works out for you.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
People move there and they die there.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Doesn't really make any sense. Another one was, I think the actual where the plot took place was in Vermont, but the big city job that the professional chef guy. Wanted would be in New York, which again,
New England is like
sheriff border, and
you can't throw a rock without hitting.
Yeah, like state. I just feel like it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Me too. It's very contrived, and it's funny too because like they're already making up a plot from the beginning, so there's nothing stopping you from making it a massive distance. Like, it doesn't need to be New York.
Yeah, it could have just been LA.
Yeah, or it could be like, oh, I'm going to study under a different chef in Paris. And it's like, you're literally going to a different country. Yeah. Okay, now I get why this is a big decision.
This would be a big decision. Yeah, I get it.
And also, I guess no one in a holiday Christmas movie has ever heard of being long distance before, where like you are together.
But that's not romantic.
Yeah, I guess not.
It's not, you know what I mean? Like, part of the draw of these movies is like you have to have the conventionally attractive couple. Usually one big city, one small town, meeting in small town for some reason. It's never
meeting in the city,
and, and then the small town person's like, I'm gonna move here and bring Christmas with me.
Yep.
No, it's always the big city person
and then
being
they get
like,
fucking mugged.
Yeah. Welcome to New York, and then they just get stabbed.
Ho ho ho.
But no, it's got to be like, we watched another one that was, the plots of these are always like, they're so nonsensical.
Yes.
There was, I don't remember what it was called, and it doesn't matter, but like she's like, I will give them this one, that they did do an actual long distance thing in this, because she had to take like a plane to get there.
Right.
And then she gets to this place called like Peppermint Hollow or some bullshit. And, everyone there is like all Christmassy and stuff, and she's dressed to go to Hawaii, which, like, why when she found out this is where she was going, because it's not like this was it was a surprise in that she was not planning on going there.
Right, but it's not so much of a surprise that you can't like put a jacket on.
She like refuses to wear anything but like the most impractical heels.
Yeah.
And like skirts out in the snow and stuff. But anyway, the hunky dude that she's supposed to fall in love with, he's like, very specifically, he farms and grows mint.
Yes.
To sell, but it's also not selling well. Which
seems wild. That like, okay, so you're not getting those freaking cutbacks from the federal government that other farms get. Like, what's going on?
And it's like, he lives in a place called Peppermint Hollow, and he's like,
it would be world renowned.
He can't even offload it there,
right?
Like, and the Pioneer Woman's in this movie.
Literally, everyone in town is trying to sell you something mint flavored or scented.
Right? You would think he would be like big bucks over here, but no, he's like, we can't afford to live in this house anymore because I can't sell the mint.
Crazy.
It just seems it's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, none of them ever really make sense, but that's not the point. It's about two people who inexplicably hate each other.
Yes.
Immediately upon meeting.
Yes.
That fall in love with no lead up about 50% of the way through the movie.
Yeah.
And then somebody feels betrayed about 75% of the way through the movie, and then they all work it out at 100% of the movie.
I think they also, in these ones, I think different from, I'm not as familiar with the Hallmark movies, but I think one trope difference is that a lot of times I think in the Hallmark movies, there is the idea of like, the person who is going to visit the small town and falls in love is already with somebody else, and they end up having to leave that person, which is like why partly it's like such a big deal for them. But in these ones, it's almost explicitly that they are not actually with anyone, and it's a point that anybody that knows them is commenting constantly about how lonely and single they are.
Yes, he's pretty handsome. Oh, but I hate him. I met him yesterday and I hated him instantly, that handsome jerk.
They also almost always have a gay couple in the movie who exist, I think, only to let you know that they are the gay couple.
Yeah, and I think it's also supposed to be like, hey, it may be a small town that this place takes place in, But we're one of the good ones.
Yeah, we're a good one.
You know, like we're not hateful.
It's just like it gets so stereotypical though, because a lot of the gay couple in the small town and they own like an olive oil shop, or whatever.
Yep.
The one with Bobby Flay in it, which boo Bobby Flay.
Yeah, Bobby Flay, I'm coming for you.
Oh my god.
This is your public warning.
Oh god. I hope nothing happens to him and like ever
fucking got me dead
anytime after this episode comes out, because you're suspect number one.
As I should be.
Yeah. But in that one, there's the main character is like, she owns like a bed and breakfast inn thing or whatever, and her head chef is like leaving and she has to get a new head chef, and this is the guy from New York that gets sent over, and he's supposed to like do stuff, and he's changing the menu up and she doesn't like it, so they don't like each other. He's making everything fancy. But there's a gay couple in this one, and they like show up right at the beginning of the movie to like, they peek in and they're like, hey, we're gay, and then they go away, and then they come back later because
still gay.
Yeah, because he's holding like a cooking class.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course the gay couple's gonna be there.
Of course. Yeah. And you know, it's always gay men.
I know.
Where are my lesbians?
This is the other thing, is it's always a couple of gay men. A
biracial.
Yes, it's a biracial, and one dude significantly taller than the other, and the bigger guy is in every sense of the word a bear. He's got a beard and everything.
It's kind of a Papa Bear, Mama Bear situation.
Or a Papa Bear and a smaller Papa Bear.
mini Papa Bear.
Yeah.
Pocket-sized Papa Bear.
Yeah. Oh, they're so horrifically bad.
Yeah.
But I can't stop watching them.
Correct.
I think the most unfortunate part of it is that they appear to have made like a bunch of them like in 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
And now they're not making any more.
It's bumming me out.
And we've already watched them all.
Yeah, we can't find like we don't really want to go into the Hallmark territory, because part of the appeal was the inherent ridiculousness of the Food Network.
Yeah,
writing
of
an original
shoving
holiday love story.
Yeah, and shoving like these celebrity chefs into the movie. And again, Bobby Flay's in it, and I cannot stress this enough. He's in it for, if he's got 5 minutes total screen time, I'll be surprised.
Right.
He plays a guy called like Thomas Kingsley or something.
Thomas Kingsley, world-renowned food critic.
Yeah, world-renowned food
Number
critic.
one enemy of small town family-owned
and
businesses.
He's kind of a villain in
this.
So it's just like, I just don't.
Yes.
It's so wild.
And they're all really bad, but they're bad in that addictive way.
Yeah.
Honestly, not unlike the movies that we watched this week for the podcast.
Yeah.
The movie that we watched this week, of course, is Jack Frost. And, big important note here. It's the 1997 Black comedy slasher film Jack Frost, not to be confused with the other live action alive snowman movie that came out like 2 years later.
No, a year later. I looked it up. That is one of the funniest things about this movie to me, is because you constantly see like they'll release a movie and then like within a year or two there's like a shitty knockoff. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a horror movie, but there's always some like bad other version. And there's like, this is a phenomenon where like two movies that are basically the same concept come out like the same time, but it's almost never this order where you get the horror movie first and then somebody was like, we need to do that but for kids.
Yeah, and also make it good. Give it a budget.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, in the year 2024, I went back and watched the horror one and not the 1998
family-friendly featuring that one guy with the eyebrow.
That's the worst possible description you could have given. That one guy with the eyebrow.
Is it Michael Keaton in that movie?
Yeah, I'm
Young
pretty
Michael
sure.
Keaton. He has an eyebrow thing.
He has an eyebrow thing?
Yeah, it's distinct.
What?
furiously Googling pictures of young Michael Keaton.
I've got to now. Young Michael.
They're an intense shape. Here, I'm gonna pull.
Oh, they're very okay. I see what you mean. They're very dramatic.
Yes, he's not even making a facial expression in this photo. They are. It's completely neutral, and yet the eyebrows have a stance of a cricket.
I'm covering everything but the eyes. That's severe.
He
kind of looks angry at me. If you do that,
yeah. No, he looks pissed.
Yeah, he looks pissed.
He looks fucking pissed. Yeah.
He's gonna beat me up.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton, stop it.
I got bullied by Michael Keaton's eyebrows.
I listened to the podcast and all I got was beaten up by Michael Keaton's eyebrows. He's not even in this movie that we're talking about. Fuck!
He's in a different Jack Frost. It's a different movie.
God, what if we didn't specify and we were just like, yeah, we watched Jack Frost, and then somebody went and watched it and we're like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Hey, when do we see Shannon Elizabeth's tits?
I didn't see one head get ripped off in this movie.
Lame. Oh my gosh. Well, and the other thing, it's kind of crazy because they did, these got released a year apart.
Yeah.
But the movie got made like several years before that.
Yeah.
It just got shelved because the company that originally paid for it watched the final product and was like, well, this is unsellable.
The horror one?
Yeah.
Oh, they were so wrong.
They watched it and they were
wildly wrong.
Put that one back in the freezer.
Hey, we can't release this.
Which is why it ended up just being like a direct-to-video thing when the company went bankrupt later on.
But how did this get released, but the Batwoman movie didn't?
What?
There was like a Batwoman. Brendan Fraser was gonna play Firefly in it, and it just they did the whole movie. Literally, the whole thing was completed.
Heard of this.
They didn't really, and it was like fairly recent.
Oh.
And it will never come out. It'll never see the light of day.
Okay.
And I'm just like, how did?
Well, did you stop and consider that maybe this movie is better?
I didn't. Maybe what the Batwoman movie is missing is an anthropomorphic snowman.
Or Shannon Elizabeth's tits.
It could be that. It could be that. Or Michael Keaton's eyes. But we'll never know because we'll never get to see it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jeez. Okay. So this movie... It was written and directed by Michael Cooney.
I thought you were going to say Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. That would be fucking crazy.
He is in it.
That would be fucking crazy. No, Michael Cooney. And for our cast, we have Sam MacDonald as Jack Frost. We have Christopher Allport as Sheriff Sam Tyler. And Shannon Elizabeth as Jill Metzner, and then with all the respect and love in the world, a bunch of people that you have never heard of as the rest of the cast.
Surprising, no one.
They're literally, none of them have Wikipedia.
This movie that the production company shelved for the fear of their lives and somehow still came out direct to video. Most of the people in it don't have movie
credits. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god. But yeah, I feel like those are the only three of note.
Yeah.
I really needed to mention.
Yeah. It's not like this movie has like a young,
no,
Leonardo DiCaprio walking around in it or something. You know what I mean? It's not.
If it did, that would be crazy.
That would be nuts.
Imagine if it wouldn't even be the right age, time wise. But imagine a young Leo DiCaprio playing the sheriff's kid.
Yeah,
that's constantly trying to poison him.
Yeah. What is this movie so dumb?
It's completely fucking stupid and I love it.
Okay, what is this movie about?
Okay, this movie is about a serial killer named Jack Frost who, while en route to his state execution, the van crashes into a genetic research materials truck, exposing him to a chemical that turns him into a snowman who can use all the forms of ice, such as liquid, solid, gas, and comedy. And he goes on a killing spree in the town of Snowminton to exact his revenge on the small town sheriff that led to him being locked up. Yeah. So if you weren't sold before, how are we feeling now? Taking the temperature of the room.
And it's ice cold.
Oh my god. This movie is completely ridiculous. It's full of little zippy one-liners before somebody gets killed. It
has that. It also has some of the best, like, off-screen, somebody just yelling shit.
And it's hilarious.
And it's so good the whole way through.
The entire time. And I think that's what's good about this movie is that it's not even really like a horror movie that's like a little bit, a little bit funny, or like because the effects are bad, it's funny. It was meant to be a comedy. Yeah. And that was very much a like educated decision that the director and writer made, because originally when he wrote this film, he was imagining it as like all the cool shit that he could do if he had a massive like CGI effects budget. I see. And then Prism Entertainment came to him and was like, less than $1 million. And he was like, I'm going to need to rewrite, but yes. And so he knew then, he was like, I have to change it because...
We got to change some things.
And apparently, like, they spent like $50K of the budget on... on one snowman prop that was just like the 8-foot. It was immobile, could not move at all or express or anything. Yeah. And it looked stupid, not scary like they were hoping for. And they were like, yeah, let's go back and just do a couple more edits.
No. He got it and we're like, oh, fuck.
Damn it.
Oh no. Beans.
But literally, like, it sounds honestly so fun, this movie set. Like, when I was reading some of the, like, production history, they were like, basically the only reason that this movie works is because all the actors were kick-ass and were just, like, down to clown. Yeah. And, like, we just all were having fun. Yeah. And, like, I love that.
It's... So, like, I was reading afterwards because I noticed some things while we were watching it. So, the movie is supposed to take place... Obviously, like, it would be hard for him to be a snowman going around if it weren't snowy all the time. Sure. And so, there's snow everywhere, except for there's not really. Right. Because I guess when they were filming this, it was, I guess, like a drought year.
Oh, no.
And so there wasn't actually snow at all. So, like, all of the snow in the movie is, like, cotton and just, like, random, fake snow all over the place. And then in the background of a lot of shots, there's trees with green leaves on them. Mm-hmm. There's just grassy hillsides because they didn't have enough snow, obviously, to go all the way that far. Yes.
Well, and it's, like, very early on in the movie, in, like, the town square, they're supposed to be having a snowman building competition. And it's on a street in the middle of broad daylight without a single fleck of snow on the ground or in the air, and the only snow is what is immediately within someone's hand to put on a snowman they're working on. Yes. And it's like, how is this possible?
No, it's so bad.
Oh my gosh, it's completely ridiculous. Yeah, it's super fun. And one thing I thought was hilarious, I was reading a quote from Michael Keaton, who I guess, like, not that long after this movie came out, Campbell's Soup did a commercial that also featured, like, a live snowman.
I remember this commercial. Yes.
And he joked that he made Jack Frost for that TV commercial's catering budget.
That's so good.
Oh, man.
I remember. Doesn't the snowman in that commercial melt because of the soup?
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, it's like lost media. I'm sure I can find it on YouTube.
It's probably on YouTube somewhere, but I remembered that too when I read it. I was like, oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Deep 90s remembrance.
Yeah. The snowman kills himself over some chicken noodle.
Yeah. You know, we've all been there.
Insane. Insane behavior.
But, oh my gosh, where do you even want to start with this movie?
I don't know. This movie is, like, insane in the best sense of the word. It is one of the best, like, B-grade, ultra camp.
Totally.
Like, knocks it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's so funny. It's so over the top.
Practically nonsensical at times.
There's there's a plot, but like it just doesn't. I don't even know. It's like it's so dumb.
There is a plot, but it's like okay. I think my favorite thing is so part of the whole framing of this movie, of course, after he becomes the snowman.
Yeah.
Most people back in town of Snowmanton think that he was executed as planned, because the FBI has like stepped in and kind of like is trying to like control the narrative, basically.
Yeah. Well, they're saying he died in the crash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, not executed. Died in the crash, but he's still like
he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah. So they're trying to control the narrative, but then this series of ridiculous murders starts in the nearby town.
Yeah.
But all of that eventually gets like tossed out in the third act when the two FBI agents reveal that they don't work for the FBI and that they actually just work for the genetic research company that owned the truck that crashed into them. And they want to like keep Jack Frost alive so that they can study the effects of their genetic materials. And weren't they saying something about how like they invented this chemical so that in the event of like a nuclear crisis that they could like keep everyone's like souls in water or something? And I'm like, what?
I don't even remember. I mean, probably because it's nonsense, but like
it truly just made no sense.
Yeah, but essentially what this has done is made Jack Frost immortal. Like he can't die.
Yes, yeah.
And
they try lots of different ways.
They try to shoot him, which like obviously isn't gonna work.
They try to set him on fire. Like there's all sorts of
things.
They
use hair dryers to like melt him.
And that like kind of works just to like control his movement because he is affected by heat.
Yeah.
And I think they joke at one point where they're like, we've got to do something. And somebody in the town is like, well, what do you suggest? Wait until April when he melts? And it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. But
how would that even work? Because so part of this whole thing is that he can control his form like at will. He can melt himself and then refreeze basically instantaneously.
Right.
Which leads to these absurd moments where he's like this, again, like 8 foot tall snowman who is like creepily right behind somebody, and then when they turn around he's not there, and then he's like instantly moved across the room.
Right.
Kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But like how would that work with the water cycle?
I have no idea. So like if he fully melted, would he just like go into the clouds?
Right. And then he's a big cloud?
Now he's a big cloud. We've made him stronger.
We can't kill him.
I don't know. I don't know what the implications
are. Well,
because
then you might think, oh, well, like if we get him down small enough, like if we separate him enough into all these different things, like we could like drink him or something like that.
What?
I'm saying like...
Why would that be the plan?
I don't know. Maybe
why would you drink
if
him?
If he's in the water cycle, some of them is going to get in the water supply. You know what I mean? So whatever.
Yeah.
But then towards the end of this movie, they kind of like address that where like he fully like melts himself and goes down inside of a person.
Yes.
And tries to pretend to be that guy. Yes. It does not work at all. It's very much like how in Men in Black.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
The cockroach is inside the dude.
Yep, and he's weird and
more sugar.
Yes.
It's very much like that, and then he instantly gets called out, and he's like, fuck it.
Whatever.
He comes back outside of him. But like, So clearly that wouldn't even stop. So like, there's like no real answer to this. And of course, at the end of the movie, they do the cliffhanger thing they do in like all horror movies that are angling to get a sequel.
Right.
Where they imply that whatever the resolution isn't enough to actually like fully stop him.
Right.
And there was a sequel to this movie. We have not seen that.
Yes. Apparently it has something to do with him getting on a plane to Hawaii or something. I don't know.
Maybe he does become that big cloud.
Maybe he does. No. I was about to say, is lava water? And then...
Is lava water?
It's not.
It's hot water.
That was just on that one Netflix show, The Floor is Lava, that lava was water.
That's terrible.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny because I can kind of see the remnants of like Michael Cooney's original idea of almost like an action movie that has this sort of unstoppable force of nature that can like, as soon as you think, oh, I can just melt him and then he's done. Well, fuck you. Like now the water can do something.
Yeah.
So it is actually kind of a cool concept of like, how would you even face something like this? But the whole thing is just so campy and over the top and ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some that, I mean, obviously there's like a lot of jokes and stuff in the movie. Mm-hmm. He kills this guy and then he kills the wife right after. Yeah. And she's inside when he kills her. And this is the scene I was referencing where he's like behind somebody and then he like melts himself and then he's across the room or whatever. He ends up like tying her up with a bunch of like Christmas lights. Yeah. And stuff.
He's like wrapping her against the tree with the Christmas lights.
Yeah. And then also like stabbing her with, is it the star?
Yeah, he on like top stabs of the tree? It through her head, I think.
Yeah, but he fully kills her. And then when the cops show up later and discover this, one of them says this line about like, so you don't want to leave her up for the 12 days of Christmas?
Yeah.
Which is just...
Have some fucking decorum.
It's the most insane shit. Before that, so like the first guy to get killed in the town is this old man who lives kind of like on the outskirts of town, and he's found outside like sitting in his rocking chair, and he's like super emaciated, and his neck is just like cleanly snapped
back. Yeah,
head's still on, but
it's just fully back.
And they're all like, "That's weird."
Yeah,
but obviously a murder.
Correct.
Sheriff Sam's trying to like not stir up a bunch of like. Ruckus
he
about it.
People to freak out. It's Christmas,
but people have already found out, and they're not happy about it. But meanwhile, like while he's in town dealing with this, his son and wife are back at home, and I guess she had just gotten back from the store, and he was in the middle of making a second batch of something. Definitely inedible and probably poisonous, to consume. And she was like, I can't let him destroy all of our food stuff, so she sends him outside to go build the snowman, because when she gets home there's one like in the yard, and that's like, Jack Frost, and she thinks he started it, but he didn't, but he somehow has enough pieces of coal to finish building the snowman on him.
The necessary pieces.
I don't know if you caught this, when he goes to build the snowman, the spots for the buttons are already there.
Yeah, there's like little indents.
So he knows exactly where to put them. It's so stupid. But anyway, all of this, like, this is happening, and then like the town bullies of this kid, and this kid is like 8.
Maybe. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And the bullies are like
clearly teens.
15 years old. And they're all like, I'm going to beat up an 8-year-old.
And I'm like, okay,
because I want to sled on the sidewalk, which again, no snow. There's no ice. There's no snow.
Yes. I do not know why they had so much beef with this
I don't know.
7 or 8-year-old little boy who was just building a snowman.
And then Jack Frost does like one of the nicest things in the entire movie, where he kills the bully that is bullying the little kid.
Correct, yeah.
Seemingly just out of a weird protector thing, but also because he's just like a psycho.
He just likes to kill.
He like pushes him over, and the guy like drops his sled. Or one of the other kids is sledding.
One of the other kids had already started sledding. So it's like, and again, none of this is how anyone would die, which is the crazy thing. There's so many ways where they're just like, just accept that this would kill you, even though it wouldn't. But like somebody else is already sledding, and Jack Jack Frost knocks the kid over right at the same time, so the guy sleds over his head, decapitating him.
Yeah, and it goes flying comically.
It's like, why would that happen? This guy was going a grand total of 1.5 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And not even down a hill.
It's like a
level.
flat. But anyway, so this death happens, and then of course, like, everyone shows up, and the bully was the son of the guy and the wife who gets killed next at the house. Mm-hmm. And so there's this tension building that's happening here. But while they're at the house still, and he's talking to Sheriff Sam about, like, your son killed my kid, and the sheriff is like, I gotta believe my kid. He was your son was like 2 feet taller than him. There's no way he was able to do this. But when he says, he's like, what is he, like 2 feet taller than my son? You hear from off screen,
an unseen voice.
No, you just hear, not anymore. He's not. I had to rewind it because I was like, there's no way. There's no way they did that.
It's so bad. It's no one in this town takes death seriously at all.
This kid beefed it 10 minutes ago.
Yes, I think that's the hilarious thing, is that you kind of expect these little one-liners from Jack Frost, and he does several of them on his own, but the funniest ones are the ones that come from just townspeople, and you're like, why would you ever say that? Like, in that same, when the bully's parents get killed later in the film that we were discussing, the dad gets killed by Jack Frost putting the, like, butt end of an axe down his throat. And, like, I don't know. I guess that, I don't know what exactly the mechanism of death there is, but it was all the way down in him, and he's dead. And he had been lighting up a cigarette before Jack Frost approached him. Mm-hmm. So then after he's dead, then Jack Frost just goes, relax, I just X'd you for a smoke. And it's like, okay.
It's so good.
Okay. Uh-huh. It's so stupid. I love it. Oh. There's literally not a moment in this film where they don't shove some fucking joke in there, and it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. They're constantly just doing really, really stupid jokes.
Absolutely.
And then they're, like, also doing, like, weird red herring stuff too, to, like, make you think. Like, there's a point where I don't understand why the teens were doing this. Uh-huh. But there's been a curfew issued for everyone to go home. Right. But the two teens, I guess, weren't home when the curfew was, like, issued, so they didn't know about it. And so they're looking for a place to, like, hook up. Mm-hmm. And they come across the sheriff's house. Yes. And they decide, we'll break in there. Mm-hmm. And fool around inside. Which seems
insane.
And again, I don't understand what the thought process here is.
The only justification I can come up with, and it doesn't really make sense still, is that the girl is the sister of the teen bully that got killed earlier. Yeah. And the family kind of thinks that the sheriff's kid did it. So there's part of me that's like, okay, well, maybe the idea is, like, we're going to break in there and, like, mess stuff up because fuck this family.
Yeah, but
they don't even like go out of their way to mess anything up. Like, they steal their champagne. Yeah. And, you know, are not necessarily, like, being super mindful of the environment. But it's not like they went in and, like, spray painted.
Yeah, they weren't, like, smashing stuff or whatever. Yeah. No, they were just going in there to hook up. And then she blow dries her hair for, like, an insanely
she was out in the snow
long period of time. Mm-hmm. And then
in the most insane turn of events,
after Jack Frost kills the boy,
yes,
that she's there with, he melts himself and goes into a bathtub. A different bathroom than the one she was in. Mm-hmm. And she comes across it. And she's like, oh, you drew me a bath.
Yes. immediately hops in having just blow dried her hair and makes no attempt.
No, she makes no attempt to keep her hair dry.
It's insane.
It's insane
behavior.
But then, and I'm just now thinking about this, in order for that to have been comfortable for her to do that, the bathwater would have been, at a minimum, needed to be warm.
No, so I think because the faucet was running and while she's in there, I think he melts himself because she makes that comment about, oh, don't add cold water. It was perfect.
I see.
So I think it was just normal bath water, and then he melts himself and gets in the bath with her.
Fair enough. Okay.
So he has now mixed with the regular water.
Right.
But the way that she dies is insane, too, because he, like, re-solidifies.
Yeah.
And she's kind of, like, stuck in him, you know?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, her, like, arms and legs are coming out of his little snow body, but, like, her, like, center and trunk is stuck inside of him, so she can't get out.
Yeah.
And he's, like, basically just gently pushing her against a wall, but they're trying to make it seem like he's, like, beating her head into the tile because she's, like, screaming and bleeding, but it's literally so slow. Like, it's the gentlest little, like, and a slight push and back and a slight push.
Yeah.
Like, it would not hurt you. It would not even hurt you.
No.
But I think part of it is that, you know, again, because this is Shannon Elizabeth, sex symbol at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just because they wanted the scene, like, the humor of it is supposed to be that it looks like they're having sex, essentially, you know? Because he's like, afterwards, he's like, oh, I'll have to send her flowers or whatever. But it's like, I don't understand how she died. Like, when he finally is done killing her, she has, like, blood coming out of her mouth. And I'm like, from what?
Yeah, from what? It would have made more sense if he just, like, froze her to death.
Right, or drowned her.
Or drowned
like,
her or something
forces
like
her
that.
In the water and she's, like, stuck in his body so she can't escape, you know? But again, I think they just wanted the humor of it looking like sex, basically. Insane death. Absolutely unhinged.
Yeah.
Do you love Halloween? Have you ever wished there was another time to celebrate that fun and spooky time of year?
Well, now you can. HauntFest is a Halloween horror festival business that celebrates Halloween off-season.
Their next ghoulish affairs will be at Nightmare Dungeon in Greenville, South Carolina on December 13th through 15th, and at Terrapin Beer Company in Athens, Georgia on April 4th through 6th.
HauntFest events include all sorts of themed activities, such as hay rides, freak shows, fire breathing, live music, trivia, pumpkin painting, animal encounters, a haunted trail, and much more.
The festival also hosts an array of horror and Halloween-themed vendors, offering anything from tarot readings and antiques to original horror literature, macabre artwork, and jewelry.
Don't miss out on this opportunity. Get your pre-sale tickets today for only $20.
For ticket purchases, inquiries, and more info, please visit www.hauntfest.net and follow HauntFest on social media. Oh, man.
If you have never seen this movie, you need to watch it. It's over the top in the most ridiculous way. And it's so fun the whole way through. I think we should go ahead and rate it.
Okay.
I think. And then we can talk about, like, scariest scene or whatever.
Okay, cool.
So I don't think it's particularly scary. I can see how some things maybe are a little bit like if you're squeamish to certain things, maybe.
Right. I made it a 3. I don't think any of it is scary, but some of the effects, because the thing is, like, they did not have the budget to make it so that you could ever really see the snowman actually killing anyone.
Yeah.
But they do a lot where you see, like, the effects of it, where, like, how the person was after, and they do some special effects for that.
Yeah.
And some of them are graphic, which is really the only reason I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
Like, if those scenes of, like, the aftermath weren't there, I would have given this a 1 in terms of scares.
Yeah. No,
but, I mean, some of them are pretty, like, the old man one in the beginning, like, with his head all messed up. Like, it looks graphic. It's you know,
yeah, it's pretty gross.
So
there's the scene in the sheriff's house where when he's killing the 2 teens.
Yeah.
When he kills the boy, we discover that Jack has the ability to, like, shoot icicles from his fucking hands for some reason. Yeah, he can also
do that.
Because why not?
Can't he do?
Yeah. But when he does this, he pins the boy against, like, a door with the first one, and then because he can't move, he shoots another one, and he shoots it, like, through his head.
Right.
And we don't see it actually go into his head. We're on the camera cuts to the back side of the door, and we see the icicle, like, go through the door, and it's, like, all bloody. And then they do this gross effect where it looks like the blood is, like, pulsing from the hole, like, and it's gross.
So there's stuff like that.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. I think the scene where he's, like, gone into the guy, and the guy, like, kind of is, like, waddling out, he looks all gross,
right?
And then he vomits up the snow, like, that's kind of, you know, unsettling, I guess, but
none of it is particularly scary because, again, all of this is always surrounded by jokes.
Yeah.
And so, like, this isn't a movie that has, like, suspense or tension or anything. It's just some of the special effects being graphic.
Yeah.
But, like,
exactly.
I gave it a 3 because I feel like that's fair for some of the visuals.
Yeah.
But
and then my second highest thing that I gave it was for vision, because he set out to make this movie about a snowman that kills people. And I feel like we nailed that.
By Job, he did it.
He did it. Name me one other movie that accomplishes that. Can't. Except for Jack Frost 2.
But also that was by him.
Yeah.
So
there you go. He's batting 1,000. But by far, for both of us, we gave it the highest score in entertainment.
This is a hilarious movie that will keep your attention.
Yeah. And
you're just, like, along for the ride the whole time.
Yeah.
I gave it a perfect 10 out of 10 for entertainment.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, but I get it. I mean, I gave it an 8. It is extremely entertaining.
I think it's one of the more entertaining films I've ever seen in my life.
There's so many weird things about this movie that I get how it is that entertaining. But anyway, so my average comes out to a 5.7.
And mine to a 5.8.
Which combined average works out the way that I do it as a 5.8. So. Sure.
Yeah. Yep. So again, this is kind of the land of comedy horror as you exist in the 5 to 6.5 range. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think if you've listened to this episode, you know exactly what you're going to get. It's funny, it's goofy, it's stupid, it's not particularly scary, but it's just an insane concept with an even more insane execution. Yeah. Like how they discover how to kind of kill him. Yeah, because the whole in the beginning of towards the beginning of the movie, when the sheriff is heading into work, you know, the mom and the son are, you know, making breakfast, and the kid, like, wants to contribute, so he's like, oh, I'm making you special oats, and the joke is that, like, they look horrible, like, they're, like, too solid. And it's just like a big mass of just gross brown, you know, goop. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm going to take it in a to-go bag. And he puts it in a little Ziploc baggie to take to work with him. Yeah. And of course doesn't eat it because, you know. He takes it when he gets to the sheriff's office. He throws it out in the trash can. And then he's about to go in and he's like, He feels guilty. So he goes and gets it out of the trash can and puts it back in his car. Yeah, and I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Like, you just want to hold on to it? Surprise, it's Chekhov's oats. Yeah, it's Chekhov's oats, because in the end, there's a scene when the son and the sheriff are kind of stuck in his car, and Jack Frost is on the outside, so they're kind of doing this whole cat and mouse thing, but they end up throwing the oats at Jack, and it appears to genuinely hurt him, which they're all kind of taken aback. And so the sheriff asks the kid, like, what did you put in the oats? And the kid is like, oh, I didn't want you to be cold, Papa. So, you know, I went under the sink and I found some antifreeze and I put that in there because I love you.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Insane.
Yes. And then he like hugs his son and is just like, I love you. And it's like, he tried to fucking poison you.
Yep. Which leads to like the big climactic thing where the guy who's been in town, like he's like the general store salesman. He's like, every time he's on screen, he's telling people that he'll give him 20% off.
Yes.
Something in his store. He shows up at this point, and the sheriff is like, go to your store and fill up your truck bed with all the antifreeze you can get and meet me back here in 5 minutes. And he takes his son, he goes to the general store, and he just has a display of antifreeze in his window, which is fine, whatever.
Sure.
But he starts like one by one taking these jugs of antifreeze and emptying them into the bed of his truck after he puts a tarp down. It would take so long.
Hours
To do this.
And also, aren't those things like kind of by design not like water sealed so that if it rains your truck
that's why I put a tarp in there.
Oh yeah, you're right. He did put a tarp in there.
You know, he makeshift,
yes.
tub in the back of his truck.
He's just by hand, and all of this is supposed to happen in
5 minutes. He has to drive to the general store, put a tarp in there, put all of these bottles, enough that like you could submerge something,
yes,
of antifreeze in there, and then drive back over to like the town square
and perfectly position the truck in front of the clock tower or whatever it was.
Which that scene, by the way, where the way that they end up dealing with Jack Frost ultimately is he's obviously put all the antifreeze in there, and Sheriff Sam kind of like baits the Jack Frost into like coming after him, and he gets stabbed in the shoulder, but then he like hugs him and like tackles him out of a window as the truck pulls up, and they both land in the back of the truck. That stunt was done in one take. So what we actually see there is the one take they did, and they were like, got it.
Yep. I heard another thing like that when there's one scene where they try fire against Jack Frost, so they light him on fire, and they literally were like, we cannot afford to get rid of all of our 8-foot snowman props. So it was like, we have one of these.
Yeah.
And they filmed everything else first to make sure they wouldn't need to do any reshoots.
And then they were like, and now
we can light it on fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works. You know, he gets submerged in the antifreeze, and he's kind of like melting, and he looks all, you know, he's screaming and all this stuff. And it's this big resolution moment, because all of this is like, the sheriff has clearly been haunted over the years by Jack Frost, because when, you know, he got convicted, he threatened him that like, I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna kill your family and kill you, and you're gonna get yours. And so it's like, yes, now I can finally close the book on this and be done with it. Yeah,
the last scene we get is them having put the antifreeze back into the antifreeze bottles, and they're burying them in the cemetery.
Correct, yes. For some reason. But then there's like a little bit of the antifreeze in one of the bottles that starts bubbling, so you're like, ooh.
Yeah, so he's gonna come back stronger, and I guess resistant to antifreeze.
And in a Hawaiian t-shirt.
Yeah,
it's insane. The whole movie is insane. It makes no sense. But it does at the same time, you know.
In my heart, it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense, but it does. It's kind of like the first time you watch Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah. And you're like, you're along for the ride the whole time. But then you think back and you're like, wait, so what was going on?
What even happened?
They were aliens?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know.
I do remember the first time I watched that movie and the reveal that they're aliens, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
What am I watching? But you're still there.
Yeah, but I'm in it.
What I really think we need is we need to have 1997 Jack Frost, not to be confused with 1998 Jack Frost with the guy with the eyebrows. And we need to make an annual Christmas Eve tradition where you show this movie, and we have like the callbacks and stuff like you do for Rocky.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, we need to get on that. We could do a little cheat sheet for everybody.
Yes. It would be so fun. It's such a stupid movie.
Yeah.
It would only be better with songs.
That's true.
Maybe we make an unlicensed, unofficial musical version of 1997 Jack Frost.
Man.
And that's how we make our first mill.
Yep, that's how we do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you have a scariest scene in this movie?
I think to me, probably the scariest moment in the movie, I think it actually might be the first kill, because the like special effects work that they did on the old man in his rocking chair like actually looks pretty good. Yeah. And he looks like really like gross and emaciated, and his like neck is all, messed, and his mouth is like unnaturally open. It honestly kind of reminds me of that one quick shot you get in The Ring when you see like the girl in the closet and her mouth is all like, her face is all distorted.
Yeah.
Like, cause he looks so like uncanny.
Yeah.
And I think it actually is a little bit spooky because it's so disturbing, but again, all around him is all this like comedy and humor that kind of cuts it. Yeah. But if you just look at him, like if I saw a picture of that on the internet, I'd be like, holy shit. And I'm going to have nightmares about this.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I think it's the scene where he kills the one boy with shooting the icicles, just because I think it's a gross kind of effect that they do. Yeah. That is also the scene I think that has the most tension in it.
Mm-hmm. There is a little bit more lead up, and I mean, even down to, we mentioned that the girl is blow drying her hair, but functionally within the plot, the point of that is so that she doesn't hear the commotion, so there is kind of this thing where you want to be like, no, like there's something going on.
And I mean, like during that whole scene, like they're doing this like red herring stuff. I kind of said it before, but I didn't really like get into it. But like he's trying to pour like wine for them so that, to set the mood and everything. And he goes into their freezer and it looks like Jack Frost has like stuffed himself into the freezer.
Right, because it looks like fully
like there's just
out.
Like what do they call that? Freezer burn. It looks like it's entirely inside the freezer, but he grabs a couple of ice cubes out of it and he puts it in the wine, and they like zoom in on the champagne. Right, so
and like, oh, they're gonna drink it.
Like, oh, he's gonna drink it and he's gonna get inside of him and he's gonna like make him blow up or something like that. Right. But it's literally, it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. So they kind of fake you out a couple times and build the tension up a bit, which is a nice change of pace. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good one. And I think it's just fun that every time he kills someone, you learn something new that he can do.
Yeah. Yeah, like literally every time he reveals like a new ability that he has. And it's hilarious. Like even when they blow up the police department to kill him.
Yeah. And then he puts himself back together, but he's all like mangled, and he goes, "Look, Ma, I'm a Picasso."
Yeah, everyone's looking at him in the town square horrified, and he's like waddling off, and he's like, "Look at me, Mom, I'm a Picasso."
And I was reading that apparently that was like one of the few scenes where you actually see the snowman move on camera. Yeah. But apparently like when it was actually being shot, like the actor had next to no mobility. So it's just this awkward, like stilted shuffling that they had
he's literally just like awkwardly shuffling around, which raises the question, like, why is he choosing to be, if he can control whether he melts?
It was funny.
But why? Well, especially once the jig is up, once they all know that it's him, right? Why is he insisting on still taking the snowman form?
I don't know.
Like, he could be any other form.
Yeah, that is a good point, but maybe he can't.
Maybe he can't. That is the limitation.
Yeah, maybe he has to stay within the realm of snowman.
He can't because the budget didn't allow for any other snowman out.
That would
like
have been
costumes.
Crazy. Yeah, so. They already spent $50,000 of their budget on that.
I also love one of the opening things in the scene. They do another trope that I really love in movies, games, whatever. Whenever they need to have the plot device of something crashing into another thing, so the genetics vehicle thing that's being driven is the guy's like trying to eat like a burger. Or not burger.
You're getting it confused with Resident Evil.
That's right, because that's the trope in that one.
He's trying to like pour himself coffee from a thermos.
Yeah, he's like trying to. Yeah, it's absurd. He's trying to like steer and pour hot liquid at the same time, and then he realizes at the last second that he's going to crash, and they crash. Yeah, and then they crash. But it's one of my favorite tropes in these things because it's always like a dude driving some absurdly large vehicle,
doing something absurdly reckless,
eating the messiest food or the worst drink you could possibly have at the time, and then crashing as a result. But once the crash happens, Jack Frost, he's still human when the crash first happens. He's just survived the crash. But he's about to kill one of the guards that was transporting him.
Yeah.
And then they both look over because they hear like this like groaning sound.
Yeah.
And then it explodes and it only shoots this like jet stream of this genetic stuff at Jack Frost.
And that's actually another part what's kind of gross because they do this effect and you only see it in parts.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
He kind of like melts and then you can see like his skeleton and there's like weird like goopy, gross flesh bits hanging off of him. And then he eventually like fully melts into the snow and he's just a puddle basically at that point. And that's when, he first kind of reconstitutes as the snowman. But yeah, I loved that he was just perfectly positioned right in front of that one apparently spout that just shoots directly forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good.
It's so bad.
Anyway, well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this one.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
The last one before Christmas.
Yep.
So Merry Christmas if you celebrate.
Yeah. If you see any mysterious snowman outside, don't assume that your son made it. Assume that it is a serial killer who has been reconstituted into an immortal snow being and just come to kill you.
Keep a little like spray bottle of like antifreeze on you, and then anytime you walk past some snow, just really quick. Just
sure.
In case.
Yeah, because you never know.
Yep. Unless
you live in the universe of the 1998 Jack Frost, in which case you should not do that, because then you will kill a father.
Well, yeah, but he's got mean eyebrows. So.
I didn't say they were mean eyebrows, I just said they were eyebrows.
Yeah, no, I said they were mean. It looked like they wanted to beat me up.
Yeah.
So, melt Michael Keaton's eyebrows off.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
if you would like to keep up with us, you can follow us on social media. We are at First Fright Pod on Instagram and X. We also have a Facebook page. It is called Love at First Fright. You can also send us an email. The email is firstfrightpod@gmail.com. We'll be, posting things there, news about the show, and you're welcome to send us your suggestions, your feedback. We're gearing up for a new year here, so if there's anything you want to see on the podcast, let us know.
Yeah, I've started the list for next year.
Yes.
But I'm always looking to like swap things out, move stuff around. I am very excited for the next 2 movies that I have on the list. I think that's gonna be a fun time. Well, one of them I don't know. But one of them I do
definitely
know, and it's going to be a fun time when we get to that.
Stay posted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I had to say today. So, I don't know. Don't eat the yellow snow.
And as always, scare well. See you next time.
Goodbye.